Hello guys, I decided to try something new today. I'm gonna actually do a commentary over my video. I'm just gonna add a disclaimer, I'm not a rank 1 mage. I'd say I'm above average, but I'm not like a really high ranking mage who pushes for titles every season and whatnot. I've never gotten rank 1. I've never gotten top 100. I just enjoy Arcane Mage. I haven't seen a lot of Arcane Mage videos this season because Arcane Mage is in a bad spot right now. But that will change come next patch. So take my advice with a grain of salt. That's all I'm trying to say. So for this first pull, we're gonna just do a triple pull into BL. Nothing too notable to mention. I'm gonna say for this Vicious Claw Mangle, the fixate cast, you can actually stop it with DB, and it stops the cast entirely. So if you have a WeakAuras like I do, you can see it in the middle of the screen when any of the mobs cast the Vicious Claw Mangle. You can see I get like cast bar in the middle of the screen. I just go up to the mobs and I DB. I usually don't DB one cast. I wait until there's at least like 2, especially on the first pull where you have a few of these mobs who cast that spell. I actually do take Ring of Frost here, but I'm not sure if it actually stops the cast or not. You'll see me a few times in this beginning section of the dungeon. I'm gonna use Ring of Frost just to be safe, but I'm not actually sure if it stops the cast or if the mob continues fixating after he gets stunned from the Ring of Frost. For this pull, again, nothing too notable. I set the speaker on focus and I interrupt the Withering Burst cast. I don't interrupt the other cast. I just focus on my burn. And usually the other casts, that Withering Burst cast that I just interrupted. And you can see the Vicious Claw Mangle. As soon as he DB, he just stops and he does a 180 and he goes back to the tank. Same for that other guy. I didn't have anything, so I just blinked away. I mirror image just in case. This is kind of an annoying pack. I think Brackenhide Hollow, even though it's one of the good dungeons to get a lot of to get a good score on the DBS meters rather, I think for Arcane Mage it's a bit awkward, especially these mobs. They just they run all over the place. You cannot AoE them properly. This tank decided to kite them around, so they ended up like spreading all over the place. It's really awkward to barrage them or do your AoE rotation. You can see I go into a small burn here. Thinking back in hindsight, I think it wasn't actually worth it, but I was like, whatever. I just wanted the pack to be over with. And just a tip for the incorporeal affix. I guess people who are doing 20s, they should already know this, but just in case. You should have a mouseover macro for your polymorph. You can actually just make a macro for the polymorph itself, where it will polymorph the target, or polymorph the mouseover if a mouseover target exists. So you don't have to make an entirely new keybind for a polymorph. For this pack, I actually started the mini burn. I thought it was gonna pull 1 pack, but he pulled 2. I should have waited on the mini burn, and I lost my my other Ring of Power. And I did like a really weird arcane surge, but because the pull itself was kind of weird, I miscalculated the pull rather. I started off with the mini burn, then he pulled the other pack, and I had the arcane surge up. I was like, whatever. And I just threw out the surge just to put it on CD, because these pulls are gonna take a while. I tried to Ring of Frost that guy so he didn't pull the other pack. Thankfully he came back. Careful of the traps here, especially as range. I see people they tunnel vision too much on the mobs and they don't look under their feet, and these traps do a lot of damage, especially on 4 tweaks. There I got fixated, so I decided to block. I didn't have invis, I didn't have DB. Actually, I might have had DB, I'm not sure. But I decided to invis anyways. Block, I mean. because the fixate deals a lot of damage, and they seem to have a bit of a range, even though they're melee, but they seem to fixate from like 10 yards or something. So I just go up close and I block. As you can see, I'm like 4th on the meters here. I'm even behind the tank. It's very hard to do damage when you're getting fixated. When I did like the botched up burn, my burn was like really suboptimal there. That was my own fault. So be sure you're like pre-advocating before the pack even starts. I do a BL burn here because I had BL up. You can see the Vicious Claw Mangle. I go on DV. I think it was stunned already, but I DV'd anyway. I'm gonna Ring of Frost, I think, in a second. The priest gets fixated, so I think I just wanted to protect him. Again, I set focus to the speaker here, and I'm just gonna interrupt the Withering Burst. I'll leave the other cast for the other party members. Thankfully, the tank actually pulled the mobs to the totem this time. Usually, the totem spawns and the tank just pulls all the mobs to Narnia, and the totem's like all the way whatever over there, and like realistically, no DBS is gonna just stop DBSing. Like, he's gonna stop AoEing the group just to go single target the totem. Makes no sense. It's actually really inefficient. So thankfully, the tank understood his job. He pulled the pack to the totem, and it got bursted down. I mean, it seems like common sense, but I've been with so many tanks who just don't think of doing that. Small efficiency tip. And again, you're just gonna do your big burn on the largest HP target in the pack. You're not gonna big burn the caster because he's probably gonna die like mid burn. If you have if you've imported someone else's playter, I have Jundi's playter here. So Jundi, for his playter, he's actually colored the highest HP mobs in the pack, especially if they're like really high HP. For example, this War Scourge, you can see his pink color. It means he's just the highest HP, highest HP mob in the pack, and you can actually see how much he has. 10 million HP compared to I think the caster has 5. Actually the speaker has like 7 or so, but still the War Scourge has like 10 million HP. He's the highest HP target, which is what you want to burn. There's specific case scenarios where you wouldn't burn the highest HP target. For example, the Matron in Underrot, because he charges around, and especially if everybody's not stacked up close to the pack, you might start your big burn on the Matron, and he's gonna like charge all the way to Narnia, and you're gonna lose out on a lot of AoE DPS because he's gonna be isolated away from the pack, and you've already started your burn on him, so you're not gonna stop your burn. You have your Touch of the Magi, you have the Radiant Spark on him. You're not going to stop your burn just to AoE the pack. So in these scenarios, I wouldn't. For example, for this specific Underrot scenario, I think I wrote it in the description even of my Underrot video. I don't actually burn the Matron. I burn just another ad. I do my big burn on any other ad besides the Matron, for that specific reason, just in case he charges away. I can still continue my burst on the pack. So for this first boss, well, you're supposed to actually focus down the Gashtooth or the Rogue or whatever you want to call him. For the healing cast, you can actually spell steal it if it does go off. I don't think it's worth to let it go off just so you can spell steal it. Maybe it's worth in higher tyrannical actually, I'm not gonna comment on that. I'm not. The highest tyrannical I've done is 20. So first off, you want to alter time as soon as the pack, as soon as the, or you can even like slightly before, as soon as the tank pulls the boss, just alter time, because soon after Gashtooth is gonna do his Blade Frenzy or Gash Frenzy ability, and he's gonna drop you low, so you can just alter time back up. You remove the bleed, you help out the healer, and it's the best place to use your alter time for the Gash Frenzy. Otherwise, you're just taking damage from the Earthen Bolt cast, from the Trick Totem, or if you get fixated, which you can invis or you can block, you have other stuff with invis. You're not gonna alter time to fixate. Otherwise, depending on the type of group you're in, you might wanna do your ST rotation on the rogue itself, or you can actually do your A rotation, but still on the rogue or Gashtooth. I think I do my ST rotation here. I'm actually not sure. You're still gonna do comparatively good AoE damage, even though you're doing your ST rotation. But just keep in mind, especially on tyrannical weeks, if you kill the rogue, especially in a coordinated group, this fight is easy. The most annoying thing about this entire fight is the Gashtooth guy. Even though the other two bosses get Bloodlust, it doesn't really matter that much. It matters just a bit, but if you get rid of Gashtooth, I mean, this guy Hacklaw does nothing, he just Blade Storms and attacks the tank. He's mostly a tank and spam kind of deal. The caster he can interrupt, even though he gets Bloodlust and his casts go faster. Usually it works out with the interrupts and stuff, especially with a paladin tank. So this section is really, really awkward for me. I think I could actually play this section much better. But there's just so much lashers spawning, and there's so much shit on the ground that I'm trying to interrupt, and I'm trying to do like all these other shit. I'm trying to CC the incorporeal ad. I think it gets a bit overwhelming. I don't think I can contest with the Shadow Priest. I don't think anyone can contest with the Shadow Priest, to be fair. In the current state of the game, they're just really strong right now. And for interrupts, if there's a pack where we pull this oak guy, Wilted Oak ad, I just put it on focus and I strictly interrupt their Necrotic Breath, because if Necrotic Breath goes off, if somebody doesn't interrupt it, especially on Fortifying Week, you're gonna die in one shot. So I don't give a shit about any of the other casts. I'm just I just that cast right there, Necrotic Breath. I have a WeakAuras, which shows the focus cast bar in the middle of my screen. If that cast goes off, right there, the tank actually pulled. He pulled the mobs around the stone, and my arcane orb just went to waste. Not a huge deal. It's annoying, but it's not a huge deal. So you can see the lashers start spawning, and they because you can't really blame the tank for this, because they spawn and the tank probably doesn't have any abilities to pull threat on them immediately, and you're burning and you're cleaving to the other ads, and you're gonna do AoE damage. You're gonna pull the lashers. You're gonna get a bleed debuff. Just keep in mind, if you have a lot of bleed debuffs, it's actually worth to block here. You can see I have 1 stack of the bleed debuff here. It's not a big deal. But if you get like 3, 4, 5 stacks, it's actually worth it to block. Unless you're saving block for if you want to soak for the tree boss, depending on the group, depending on what you want to do. But this is a good place to block for the bleed debuff. It actually does a lot of damage on 4 tweaks, and you don't need it for anything else. Here I wait a bit for my Arcane Surge to come back so I can Evocation and go into my big burn. I'm on 3 charges, so I just Radiant Spark into Arcane Blast, Nether Tempest, and then I just do my normal AoE rotation. Here I think I pull aggro from the Lashers. I don't have Greater Invis, so I should have Prismatic before I did Invis actually, but I lived. I shouldn't have lived, but I did. You can see the totem's just far away. Like nobody's gonna realistically single target it, but you can just ignore it. If you kill the ad that spawned the totem, I think it's the Rotsinger. If you kill the ad that spawns the totem is gonna disappear. I'm actually not sure which ad spawns the totem, to be honest. Is it the Rotsinger? I'm not sure. It might be the Shaper. No, it's not. It's not the Shaper. I think it is the Rotsinger. Anyways, here I don't save my interrupt for the Necrotic Breath actually, and it goes off and it kills. It. Oh, actually, did the. I think the healer didn't die, but the Red Paladin definitely died. Maybe the healer got CR'd. I'm not actually sure. I'm not actually sure. The run back of shame, guys. The run back of shame. I'm not actually sure what I died to. I think I died to the Lashers. I pulled threat from the Lashers. Again, don't blame the tank for not holding threat. They spawn and you're gonna naturally AoE them instantly, and they're gonna pull threat. They might not have a CD up to hold the. It should be your responsibility. Your responsibility to keep yourself up in that situation. Especially for these Lasher ads I'm talking about. Not in general. If you pull aggro in general. As an Arcane Mage, you're going to have issues with aggro. You're just naturally a bursty class. You're going to do like lots of burst damage. So sometimes it does happen that you pull aggro. But you have greater invis, you have block. We have our normal invis, which isn't ideal because it has a cast time. Not a cast time, but you don't go invis instantly like G invis. Now here I actually do a mistake. So you can see my Bloodlust is up, but the Bloodlust debuff is gonna drop before if I use Bloodlust now, the Bloodlust debuff on my allies is gonna drop before my Bloodlust comes off cooldown. So it's gonna delay a party-wide Bloodlust for the group, which happened because of the wipe that happened. It desynced, and there was like period of more than 1 minute where we didn't pull anything, and now we put like a single pull. So I actually do use Bloodlust here, but I think this is a mistake on my part. I should have held my Bloodlust and just ignored it. You can use Bloodlust if you have another BL user like a Shaman or Hunter or whatever in your group, because then if it drops, the other party member can use their Bloodlust for the group. But in this case, I was the only guy, so I decided to BL this pack, which is, I mean, this pack isn't really dangerous, but I BL it anyway. I don't really care. I try not to overthink things too much. I mean, this is the point this is originally my point of recording my gameplay. It was to analyze my gameplay. I didn't want to think too much about it in the moment. I'll just record my gameplay and think about it later. Especially I'm doing 21s, 22s. I'm not pushing for rank 1 with a coordinated team where I need to play everything almost perfectly. I think I can make we can make a few mistakes here and there in these Q ranges. Not too much, but you can make a few mistakes. So you can see here the Necrotic Breath goes off and the healer almost dies. I don't even have a focus here in this pull. So always have a focus. You should always like set any target to focus. You should have an idea before going into the pull. With your experience doing the dungeon, with your experience of what the mobs do, you should have an idea of which mob you want to interrupt, which cast you want to interrupt. I think at this point you're doing 20s, 21s, 22s. You should know the important casts that need to be interrupted. So for me, it's the Necrotic Breath from the Wilted Oak. But I think I forget to set him as focus here. I sometimes block this debuff, which reduces your haste, but not in this case. But you can do it if you want. I think I do block it early, actually. I wasn't paying attention. So you can see that that totem disappeared as soon as the ad died. That spawned it. It just disappeared. Now this guy says bow trash. He actually meant BL trash, but my BL was on CD. I think here like he says BL bro, and I'm like, bro, it's on CD or some shit like that. And this poll is like really weird because they have double wilted oaks, they have IHP, and they keep spawning lasher, and sometimes you have to switch from your single target rotation. Sorry, you have to switch from your AoE rotation to your single target rotation. When all the lashers die, you're gonna be left with the 2 wilted oaks. So you're gonna go into your single target rotation because you have 2 oaks, and then when the lashers spawn, you can choose to go into your AoE rotation, like here. Here I make an unnecessary comment. So I'm gonna be all on the boss as soon as it comes up. So this is what I was talking about earlier. When I use BL for myself, now it's on CD for like 2 minutes or something, and then the debuff already dropped, so we could have used Bloodlust much earlier for the group. So I think that was a mistake on my part, using Bloodlust when it was desynced. Usually you have around, I think, I'm not sure exactly, you probably have 30 to 40 seconds, maybe a minute. I'm not gonna say exactly because I'm not sure, but you have some leeway for how much you can delay the Bloodlust when it comes back up for yourself, because of the talent, time anomaly talent that we use for ourselves. If you go past that time, it's just better off. I guess it depends on route, but in this specific case, it was better off if I had just not used my Bloodlust for myself personally and just held it for the group. So something to keep in mind, especially if you're playing in coordinated groups. Here, I'm not sure what the tank is gonna pull exactly. I miscalculated that they wanted the Bloodlust on the boss, and that was what I was thinking at the point, that I wanted to Bloodlust on the packs and I'd have it back for the boss. But it was a miscalculation on my part. For this boss, I wouldn't worry too much about AoEing the ads. I mean, if you want to get higher on the meters, you can pad on the ads. Not a big deal. But I just single target and stick on the boss and just single target on the boss. It's not worth to pad on the ads. The other DBS are going to pad on the ads, and they're going to be first meters. Who cares? We're here to finish the key, right? We want to time the key. Sometimes I do interrupt the cast with the casts of the ads. You have DB, you have Blast Wave, you can interrupt their casts. I'm actually not 100% sure what these casts do from these ads from the boss. I'm not sure if they're important to interrupt or whatever. I'm not sure if it's worth losing a global over. For this ad, the Stink Breath, I actually make a mistake here. I play it as if I was a melee, but you can actually just outrange it like the priest is doing here. You can see the priest standing way back over there, and he can outrange the Stink Breath cast. Even if it goes on him, it's not gonna hit him. I used to just greater invis it before. When he casts it on me, I just greater invis, and it stops the cast, and it goes on cooldown as well. But this is more optimal. Just stand at range and DBS. No need to greater invis, waste a global, go into melee range. You don't need to do all that. You can see the healer's name is actually pretty funny. Nicki Minhaj. Here the tank said he's gonna pull the ads to the boss, so I hold off on a vacation. I hold off on all my CDs, but it takes like, I think it takes a while before he goes to the boss. Well, I guess he doesn't really have another option. But anyways, I just hold off my CDs for that purpose because I knew he was gonna pull them with the boss anyways. So you can see me evocate right here because he's gonna pull the boss, and you're just gonna start your big burn on the boss himself. Radiant Spark, you're gonna do 1 AB, Nether Tempest into your Arcane Surge, Gem into your Barrage Totem, 1 Arcane Blast, Barrage, and you just gotta continue doing the normal rotation. You can see my rotation on the bottom left, which is just the normal area rotation you can find in any guide. You can find it on Tone Grinder's website, you can find it on the Wowhead website as well. Here I go back into the ST rotation because the hounds are a bit far away. You see my Bloodlust come up, I have a WeakAuras, and I just use Bloodlust for myself. I could probably have delayed it until the big burn, now that I think about it. Might have been better. Here I'm standing outside of Rob. Yeah, I should probably have delayed my Bloodlust for the big burn. Actually, I don't even think I get a full big burn here. The boss dies before my totem even ends. There's an argument to be made that I shouldn't have done a big burn here anyways, but I usually don't like holding off my CDs, especially on bosses. I'd rather just the boss die, especially the pack after this is not too dangerous. We're gonna pull a small pack with all these small fodder mobs. They don't really do anything. I mean, this isn't really a dangerous pack. So I decide just to blow my big burn and have it back up for the pull after this one, because this pull isn't really dangerous. You just have a caster mob you can interrupt, and the other mobs don't really do anything. They do like the bleed, but realistically, you're not gonna die from the bleed, right? Again, I'm not gonna do a burn on these mobs. They have like 2 mil HP or something. Not even worth. They're gonna die too fast. So I haven't really talked much about altar time usage because in this dungeon there isn't a lot of opportunities to make use of altar time, unlike other dungeons. So I talked about the Gash Frenzy on the first boss. I think that's a really good opportunity to use altar time, to make use of altar time. You're gonna entirely negate the mechanic. You're gonna help out your healer. You're gonna help out yourself as well. Here I thought he's gonna pull the pack in front of us, so I mirror image. But turns out he's just gonna skip them. I was afraid my mirror image was gonna pull there. It feels really, really bad when you have to go out of range of your Ring of Power. I can't wait for that stupid spell to be removed next patch. Play the affix, guys. Play the affix. Don't tunnel vision too much on the DPS. If the affix gets a cast off, I mean, it's really, it's gonna hurt the group more than the single global you're gonna waste on CCing it. And it definitely is your job to CC it. Not as mage, but as a mage, but as any DPS. So I think most classes can safely CC it. Maybe warrior is the only class who I don't think he has a good CC for the incorporeal ads, but I think every other class does. I mean, you have Shackle Undead for the priest, you have Turn Evil for the ret, you have, I think even for the DKs you can now control undead them. I'm not entirely sure. Okay, so for this boss, I have tried to do a small burn on the totems, but for my key levels, it's just not worth it. They die way too fast. If I big burn, they're gonna die like 4 or 5 seconds into my touch of the Magi. I feel like that's a huge DPS loss for the overall fight. But I think into the higher keys, especially tyrannical keys, again, if you're in a coordinated group, beacon to the beyond trinket helps here. So for this cast, it's actually worth the alter time. I don't think I did here. Yeah, I didn't alter time here, but for this cast, the Rotten Decay, I think it's called, it's worth to alter time that cast. That's about the only that's the only cast that's worth using alter time on, and it's the only cast worth using your defensives on actually. So going back to the totems, I usually just do my burns, my Radiant Spark and Totem burns. I do them on the boss. If I have a solo Ring of Power down like I had there, of course I'm gonna focus. I'm gonna focus on the totem itself like I do here because I don't have a big burn, so I'm gonna focus on the totem itself. I think here, yeah, I alter time this cast. But now when I have a big burn, I'm just gonna burn on the boss itself, and you can cleave off the boss to the totem if the tank just moves the boss fast enough to the totem. You can cleave off of it. But again, I will say this is a bit specific to what key level you're doing and what kind of DPS you're playing with. If you have like a healer with Beacon to the Beyond trinket and you have a tank with Beacon to the Beyond, and they're coordinating their uses of that trinket on certain totems, you're gonna die pretty fast. So maybe you don't need to you don't need to do a mini burn on the totem. I would definitely not do a big burn on the totem. I'd rather just uninstall the game than having to do a big burn on the totem. But there's an argument for doing a small burn on higher tyrannical keys, or a mini burn on higher tyrannical keys. Otherwise, just focus on the boss. And well, that's it. GG's. And it's my first time doing these kind of commentary videos, so take it easy on me. I'm still learning. So thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions or anything else, just post in the comments and I'll get back to you. Thanks, guys.